Hey everyone, it's Julie and Dr. A. We're back again for another varieties video. If you haven't caught our series so far, I surprise him with one annual, one perennial, and one shrub, and we get his hot takes. So, Dr. A, the annual I'd like to start with today is zinnias.
Ooh. Well, wait a minute. I better put on my, for that one, I better put on my uniform. There we go. All right. Well, that's my garden in the background. So I just came out of it. And it's pretty warm today. So zinnias, actually, I've been talking to all sorts of zinnias. They look fabulous right now. This is our summer flower, which, everybody can grow a zinnia. This is the seeds we give to our kindergarten kids or grade 2 kids to grow a plant because they're so easy to grow from seed. Now, obviously, what commercial people do with plugs and yada yada is a little bit different, but it's one of those, and I say this with the greatest of respect, it's one of grandma's plants. It's a plant that's been around a long time. And from our perspective of, we've gotten some more serious, so zinnias and landscapes and all, and we have dwarf ones and we have tall ones and we have cut flower ones. But what we really have now, I think, are zinnias that are so much more resistant to a lot of the fusariums and various other soil diseases. There are zinnias now that the leaves actually continue to look pretty good pretty much most of the summer. Used to be that, by June 15th or July 1, you had to replant them because they look so awful. And people still do that. But I think zinnias, we have the dwarfer forms, and they are really disease resistant. The old fashioned taller forms that, you cut and come again and all that, they're still so much fun. So from the gardener, the garden center, and the landscaper who just want to have color all the time that people just like, zinnias, you can't beat them. For the people who really are growing cut flowers or real specifics and that are ground, are the front of the border things with the dwarfer ones, zinnias work. In fact, the dwarf ones are my favorites. So yeah, we've come a long way with zinnias, and I think your grandmother would be real proud of us.
Yeah, I have one in Nana's backyard right now that she likes. It's from American Talkie, the
Yeah,
Belize series, and it's
yeah.
like a nice bright orange, like you said, adds a pop of color to the landscape. It looks real nice.
I think the Belize is an example of one of those dwarf ones that I say dwarf. It's more compact and it has lots of flowers, and they just seem to be just really really good when there's adverse conditions out there. So the zinnias are really terrific. I think they're terrific.
Mhm. As for the perennial of the day, what are your thoughts on Veronica?
Wow, it's a good that's an interesting one. Again, I've had terrible times with Veronica in the past. I'm saying that. I mean, they're beautiful. I've seen them in England and I've seen them in Wisconsin and even in Ohio and even here in Athens or Atlanta. They look good for a short period of time. But I say that I think they're looking better. I've had them for the last 5 years, different breeders, different ones. And I think there are two or three out there now that are really good. I mean, they are, I say really good. I keep coming back to this whole disease thing. Not that we are over, we just disease. It's part of plants. There's diseases around, or there's insects around, and I think the Veronicas have come a long way. They're flowering in. They're quite profuse flowering. They're flowering in containers. They're flowering so that the garden center can have them in flower a little bit later, late spring. But they are more foliferous than ever before. So I like Veronica. I think they're a terrific plant. They tolerate some shade. They'll tolerate full sun. They'll give the pinks and the whites and the blues. So yeah, and they've been around for a long time. Don't get me wrong. They're just getting better. It's just taking a while. That's all.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And for the shrub, what about crepe myrtle?
Oh, geez. That's another, again, I don't mean to sound so Pollyannish that everything is great. Well, there's lots of things that aren't great, but you keep picking some great ones. So, I mean, crepe myrtle, they're everywhere. And certainly we think of that as a southern plant because down here in the southeast, that is our summer flowering plant. Crepe myrtles are everywhere in the summertime because they're a street tree. They are 20 feet tall. They're shrubby, and they tolerate all sorts of terrible weather. I mean, when I talk about terrible weather, even in Ohio and where I am in Athens, we're at 95 degrees today. So that's pretty terrible weather, but they don't seem to wilt or anything else. And again, there's been some powdery mildew issues and things on crepe myrtles, to be sure. But I think crepe myrtles, where the real breakthrough is coming, and as much as I am a, want to be part of the talking about this industry and growing and displaying and garden centers and all those things that make our industry an industry, I think the movement to the dwarfer crepe myrtles, and I say dwarf, 3-4 feet tall, maybe even less. This is the breakthrough that I love. I've seen these in the last 5 years or more, that I can put, I mine it right by my mailbox. So I mean, and the postman loves them. So they're flowering right now, and they're flowering at about 3 to 4 feet tall, and they're genetic dwarf. And I think this is a great breakthrough because, I don't know about further north, what we have here is this outbreak of called crepe murder, where the crepe myrtles get too tall and they just whack them off, and they look like they've been murdered. But then the next year they put out little strings of plants. So we don't have to do that with the dwarf ones. We can cut them back, and the next season they come back just as good as ever. I love them. I love them all, but those ones I'm really, think are.
I really like crepe myrtle too. When I went to Montgomery a week or so ago before the
Yep.
Southern Gardens tour
Yep.
started to visit my grandparents, and we stopped at a McDonald's that had the most beautiful line of crepe myrtle trees in like a bright fuchsia pink. And I didn't get any photos, so I made my grandpa come back to McDonald's so I could get pictures of the crepe.
But what you also probably noticed, you can't help but especially a line of crepe myrtles like that, which we are missing in the dwarf ones, is a beautiful bark. The bark is really, really gorgeous on crepe myrtles. And of course, you get that in the tree forms, not in the dwarf forms. So it's a no-brainer, that plant. If you've got, and again, it's just a matter of how far north you can take a crepe myrtle. You're getting up there in northern Ohio, but nevertheless, if you can grow crepe myrtles, poof, we have a ton of great ones now.
Yes, we sure do. Well, I think that's all for this video, but stay tuned for more, and thanks for watching.
Yep. See you soon.